Hello and welcome to another interesting episode of the wonderful story series, Reflections, Stories that Recharge and Rejuvenate Us. And today we have a wonderful speaker, and I'm very, very happy to have him with us, Eric Reste. Eric has been a journalist and producer for news and current affairs programs for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation for more than 35 years. He is an award-winning documentary maker. In addition to that, for the past 40 years, he has been practicing and teaching Raj Yoga meditation and is currently the national coordinator of the Brahma Kumaris in Canada, and he's based in Montreal. The title of the story that Eric is going to share with us today is Saying Goodbye to My Father, wherein he says, the relationship with our parents shape who we are. It is said that we become adult the day we don't have parents anymore. This happened to Eric recently, and saying goodbye to his father showed him how the power of love and letting go keeps the soul free from sorrow. So, a very interesting topic, and I'm sure we will learn a lot through your experience, Eric. So, without any further ado, a very, very warm welcome, and it's over to you to share your story with us. Eric Reste.
Well, thank you very much, That I really appreciate your introduction. And yes, I come from a media, background, and in the media, it's the power of storytelling. My, specialty as a producer, but also as a journalist, is actually to teach others the power of storytelling. So today I'm on the other side, asked to tell you a story. And it's a story very, very close to my heart because, the parents, as you said, are very close to us, but also sometimes the relationships with parents could be also difficult. And when I was very, very young, my parents didn't get along at some point. There was a divorce. And then my mother passed away when I was very young. And a lot of things for me was actually the result of the relationship she had with my father. So I felt very angry for a long time at my father as a young, very, very young boy. And so I moved away from friends, and started to encounter these teachings of Brahma Kumaris. And when I took the course, part of the course at some point was talking about forgiveness and the power of love. And they were saying that, it's good in life if you free your heart from any kind of barbed wire that could be stuck in your heart, any past adventures, stories, experiences from the past that are still hurting your heart. And one of the options was actually to forgive everyone, to say, yes, I have to forgive and to forget. And I said to the teacher at the time, I like your idea, but could there be an exception? Do we have to really forgive to everyone, or could there be maybe one exception, which would be, in my case, my father? And the feeling was, I can't forgive my father for what happened to us, to my mom, to the family. And so I was really, stuck with that idea. So I had to talk to a few seniors and think about it deeply. And I knew I was confronted with this notion that how can I forgive, when it hurts and I feel I should not forgive? There are no good reasons for me to forgive. And it's his fault and he's wrong and he should make, amends and everything. So I tried different ways, to forgive. But what really worked at some point was this very simple notion that we're all souls. And yes, he's my father, but he's also a soul. And I have to think of him not as my father, but as a soul, to see him as a soul, almost like my brother soul, not my father-in-law, but as a soul. It is said in spirituality, we're all brothers. So how can I think of him not so much as my father, but as a soul? And I found that forgiveness is much easier when I look at the soul instead of looking at my father. Honestly, I cannot forgive what he did, but can I forgive the soul who did it? Because maybe the soul was at that point, stuck with its own personality, its own issues, its own ignorance, its own anger and rage or whatever. So that soul was also suffering from its own condition and therefore acted in a way that I would feel is not forgivable. So thinking of my father as a soul changed the whole thing. And I started to have meditations where I would visualize him next to me as a soul. And I say, yeah, he's a soul in the body. I'm a soul in the body. So let's just be with that beautiful light, from the Supreme and this divine energy that is so pure, so beautiful. And the thought was, am I really going to forgive him? Or is it not just about sitting quietly, letting the past be the past, and first to forget about it? Say, past is past, it's over. Why should I hold that past in my heart in such a way that it hurts me all the time? So the first step for me was really just to let go, just to let go of the past and see myself as a soul and see my father as a soul sitting next to me and absorbing that light and feeling almost as if I was telling this beautiful being of light, well, you look after my dad. I'm not going to do the work, but you bring that energy into the soul of my dad. And then the subtle change that happened was I felt I was next to a soul that I could start to be comfortable with, because it's not just my dad, it's a soul. I'm a soul, and we're facing the light. So then I thought, okay, past is past. I can live with the present and build for the future without carrying the past with me in the future. That was fun. Forgiveness was still an aspect of, all right, does it mean that I agree with what happened? No. Does it mean that I erased what was done? Probably not. What is done is done. It's not erasing. And it's not just forgetting, but it's also learning to create a new relationship with that soul. And for me, forgiveness is not about, I forgive you, let's move on. But forgiveness is, what can I give you? What can come from me, which I give you, which allow us to be together again for future, for the new beginning. And I kept having that meditation a few times. And then came a day when I knew I was going to France and I was going to meet my father. And after, a whole day, then my sister left me with my dad thinking, well, this is the test. Are they going to fight like they used to before? And is the conversation going to be okay? So I had to be, in my role of a son meeting his father. I was just 21 years old or 22 years old at the time. And, would my father approve of what I'm doing? And just, it was going to be a conversation to catch up. But I was a little bit concerned that what if I react as I used to all the time before? So he was in this role of very patriarchal, authoritarian father figure, not very warm, usually is not a huggable father, is not like a, physical contact, it's usually distance, and I'm the son making all the mistakes probably, and, left friends, left the family. So we started having a conversation, and in my mind was always, he hasn't changed. Oh my goodness, his ego is still there, and he's still arrogant like that, and he's still like this. I was just seeing the negative aspect of my dad, which, made me reacted before and made me left friends before. But then the experiences of meditation came back. And I thought, no, it's not your dad, he's your brother, he's a soul. See him as a soul. There's a point of light here, see the soul, talk to the soul, he's your brother, not your father. Create a new relationship. Have good feeling, good, pure feelings for that soul. And then the magic happened. I think I stopped generating negativity. I stopped seeing him as a monster, as the responsible for my pain. My vision changed just of that soul. And what I felt suddenly was like I dropped my weapons, and right away he dropped his. And I felt the tone of conversation changed, because before our whole story was always the same. I hit you with my energy and my words, you hit me back. That was always the deal. And that's why we didn't get along most of the time. Many times I will love him, but most of the time I will argue and there will be a fight. But I dropped my weapons. He dropped his. And then the thought came to me, asking him, so Dan, what happened with Mom? What really happened? And I realized we never had a very deep and real conversation. We just had fights. So we started having this conversation where, honestly, I started to fall in love with my dad. And I realized, yes, he may have done certain things. Yes, there was a relationship, but who was I to judge with my 14 years old eyes? What happened, or my 5 years old eyes? What did I know? So he started telling me things that were very honest, very true, he opened up so much that I was so surprised. And I realized that soul is actually quite nice. He's quite an amazing soul. And there are many things in that soul that I didn't know. He told me he wanted to be a priest. I never know. He never told me that before. So the conversation went on for the whole night, the whole night. And every hour was passing by and I was thinking, how come I missed in knowing that aspect of my dad? I would have loved him before that, but time was such that that was the time. So sun was rising and we felt maybe we should go, to bed. My sisters would wonder, what am I doing talking all night? And we were getting a bit tired. But I started to feel that I was into a relationship with somebody I didn't know well before. And I started to create such a beautiful, it didn't change what happened. I don't forget what happened, but I don't hold it with my heart anymore as something negative. It's past. It's the past. And the present with my dad became new story, a new beginning. And we started having conversation very different, live something different. On that day, when I left, usually he would never stand up. He will stay seated, drink his little glass of wine. We say goodbye like French people do and bye. That day he said, no, let me walk you to the car. Dan never walks me either to the door or to the car. So he went out and I felt something is different, it's not normal. And so we were out on near the car and about to say goodbye. And I knew something was weird. So I just dropped my luggage and turned around and went to him and took him in my arms, which I never ever did in my life before. I was 22 years old. And he was like, a big pillar of ice. So I took his arms and I put them around me and I said, that is not complicated. You just put them here, squeeze, not too strong. That's called a hug. It's okay. It doesn't hurt. And we started hugging each other, out of nowhere. Both of us started to, feel a bit emotional. And I just told him for the first time in my life, Dad, I love you. And he couldn't say maybe the words, but I knew he was responding in his own way by squeezing a little bit more. Yes, I love you too, And so we stayed like that for quite a long time. And then after I felt he was okay, that's enough for first hug, that's okay. Let's not abuse about it. And I left, and that image that I have of him, was completely different. It doesn't again erase what happened. It just created a new start. That's for me is forgiveness and love. So then many years, we built that love. And I loved him more and more and more and more. Probably one of the soul that I love the most, by the end of, our story. And what I felt was when I came to France just a few months ago, I had planned for, 8 weeks. It was a long tour, 7 or 8 weeks, can't remember. And I came for actually celebrating his 90th anniversary. So I had just a little slot around his anniversary date where I will be staying with him for a few days. It so happened that when I was there, just a few days before he got COVID and didn't turn well and was in a hospital and couldn't handle in the lungs and everything. So it happened that instead of anniversary, it turned out to be actually a departure. He left. I was with him in a room when he left the body, very peacefully. And I kept thinking, and telling him in the room how thankful and grateful I was that we had all these years to experience that love for each other and that closeness, even though we would not call each other every week. And I was in Canada, he was in France. But I felt that my story with him, maybe not with everyone else, of course, but with me, that story was completed. And I could feel him leaving right in front of me. I was at some point holding his hand and seeing him taking his last breath and feeling the love between the souls meant there was no need to be sad or to be feeling anything else, just bon voyage, in French we say, you can go, you're free to go. So the love, I think, that comes from forgiveness is not a small thing. And when we nurture that love, I think we just live with a beautiful story in our heart instead of staying the whole life holding on to a horrible story that we can't forget. So yeah, story of forgiveness, letting go, and most of all, big story of love. I'm happy that yes, I have very beautiful ending just a few weeks ago. You need
Yeah,
to.
absolutely. Beautiful story. I was just wondering, like when we hear of someone saying goodbye, so there's a bit of a sorrow at the back of the mind. But your story is so inspiring. It's kind of a happy ending story. I mean, if you understand. So like the soul forgiving, past is past, and like as you mentioned, you had a good amount of time for the new beginning to start, and by the end of it, it was like all healed. And I really liked the word you used. Forgive is to give. So giving good wishes. Would you like to elaborate a little bit more? What
Yeah,
all
because
would we give when we
right.
forgive?
I think we have to give multiple layers of things. There will be good wishes, love, giving our forgiveness as well, but it's giving a part of us. It's giving that identity that I created as a result of what happened in the past. And very often, what is more difficult for someone to give is to give back the victim identity, because they've been holding on to that victim identity as a mean of living a purpose of the one who is expecting in return compassion, love, and this. And I'm not saying I don't want to, of course, criticize or any victim. Many things happened for me was minor. Some are victim of tremendous, horrible things happening. That's true. But regardless of what happened to us, we are not obliged to hold on to that and make it as me being a victim. In Canada, we are, trying to face our history with the First Nation people having been abused, over centuries, and trying not to reconciliate. And one thing that they did was to change the word victim for survivor. So the identity is not anymore that I'm a victim, but the idea is I made it. I went through this horrible thing, and I'm alive, and I'm a survivor as a whole person. I find it's much more healthy, identity. So forgiving is I have to give up my identity of being a victim. So I will become stronger. So this, we can talk longer about it, but it's a powerful idea that I have to give things
definitely.
from me that are deeper than just good wishes that I've been holding on to, which also needs to go.
And Eric, would you say on the journey, when we are in this journey of forgiveness, there may be times when we kind of may tend to go back to the negativity a little bit because it's a process, it's not a overnight thing. How did you deal with that?
You're right. Definitely, it doesn't work just with magic, snatch of the fingers. It comes back from time to time, and particularly when if we confront the person that we want to forgive. Sometimes these people, they don't change. So the cause of what hurt me in the first place might be happening again. So yes, it has to be something that we need to nurture on a continuous level. For me, it just means continuing seeing the person as a soul, reaffirming again and again, again and again. This is not my dad, my child, my neighbor, my boss, my friend, whoever I feel has been hurting me. This is a soul. And just practicing this again and again, again and again. It's a lifetime, concept. The other element which I really liked was something I read recently, beautiful book called Little Dragon and Big Panda. And it's the little dragon that jumps on the shoulder of a big panda. And they go on all kind of adventures. And little dragon always asks deep questions to big panda, which comes with wisdom. And the little dragon asks the big panda, so tell me, what's most important, the destination or the journey? And Big Panda said, none of the other. It's the company you have on the journey that is most important. And for me, the road of forgiveness is a road where I'm not the only one forgiving. I'm taking from that energy of light, which is beautiful, which it can be called the divine or the source, something very, very powerful that is life itself. For me, it's life itself. It's peace, it's love, it's beauty, it's an energy that I want to absorb from, like the sun that I like to take from in the day. And I take that energy, and that's what keeps me company on the journey. So forgiveness is much easier when I'm not alone on the journey. If I'm alone on the path of forgiveness, I'm holding the burden of forgiving because often the other one doesn't necessarily reciprocate. So if I'm holding a burden, it's heavy. But if I'm alone, if I'm not alone and I feel the company of that light, I find that for me that's when my experience was. I was not alone. There was another energy helping me to forgive because that energy was helping me to be free, which is why I came to this spiritual journey in the first place. I wanted to be free from not just my relationship with my dad, but everything that was holding me as a prisoner of myself.
I was about to ask that last question, and I think you already touched upon it, that this process definitely has, or meditation has definitely helped you in this process. And meditation definitely involves the higher source or the divine light. And since you have been practicing Raja Yoga meditation for such a long time, it would be wonderful if I can request you to lead our viewers into a meditation experience through a commentary. If that's okay. Maybe a
Yeah,
5 minutes of commentary would be wonderful. Thank you.
we can all walk together on the path of silent meditation. So everybody come. We can all imagine whoever is watching, listening, at the moment you are listening and watching, let's embark on a little journey together. So yes, if you just sit very naturally, you may even want to keep your eyes open because I'm seeing you as a soul. And you can see me here as a little point of light, a soul, thinking that I'm a soul speaking through my body. Body is just like a speaker. You can hear the sounds. The one speaking is the soul. And imagine that we are with a few other souls or people with us in the room. And we decide, all of us together, to go for a beautiful walk. And imagine that you are with a group of friends walking on a path. Imagine it to be a beautiful path of light, beautiful trail of light. And you look around and you see other souls, other friends. And as we feel that we're not alone on this path, on this journey, we look ahead of us and we see a beautiful light shining like the sun. And walking towards the light on a trail of light, seeing myself as a being of light and feeling the presence of the soul, beings of light. I feel that that light is giving me a lot of strength. And at the same time, it's giving me a lot of freedom, just to be who I am. Feel free like a bird, nothing holding me back, nothing reminding me of the past, just moving forwards. There's lightness in the soul, no burden, no heaviness. And there's lightness also. It helps me to see the path is clear. I move forward as I feel myself with light and might, energy. I can sense deep within myself the energy of peace, energy of love, the energy of happiness, as if they were my real, my true companions. Deep peace, real peace, and love, like a river flowing through my heart, mighty river of love, never ending, just currents, waves of love. And this brings great joy. The happiness of being free, liberated from my past, carrying no burden, just moving in the light as a being of light.
Thank you very, very much, Eric, for that inspiring story and for this beautiful experience. I'm sure our viewers will be inspired to know more what a soul is and how can we start practicing that, keeping that awareness of being a soul and looking at others as a beautiful point of light as well. So thank you very much for joining and inspiring all of us today.
Thank you to you, and thank you everyone, and see you another time.
And I would also like to thank the viewers for joining. And if you would like to know more about us, please do visit our website, www.brahmakumaris.org.au. The addresses of all the local centers in Australia, all the public programs are all listed on the website. So you are welcome to come for a visit. So thank you very much once again, and we will see you in another interesting episode. Take care. See you for now.
Thank you.